Overall, this is a guy that I do think is a really good blend of the scat back archetype of smaller, quick, elusive, pinball-y type of guy, and a hard-nosed, rugged runner. Because he runs angry, he runs tough, he forced 72 missed tackles last season, so he has some grit to his play. Welcome into the draft profile for Kyle Monangai, running back out of Rutgers. This is a fifth-year senior, about 5'9", maybe 5'10", 215 pounds. Really excited to see exactly what those measurables are going to be at the combine in a couple days. But this dude has been a consistent starter over the past 2 seasons for Rutgers, putting up over 1,200 yards and about 5 yards per carry over the past 2 years. And yeah, I mean, look, fifth-year senior has been there, has been apparently a pillar of the program over the past couple years. All the coaches at Rutgers have nothing but positive things to say about him. Very good dude from like a football character perspective. He's going to check all those boxes. Teams are going to love him. I think there's a really good chance he gets drafted maybe ahead of any number of other running backs that he has similar profiles to, just because of the dude and the guy that he is. But that's just me. Those are the type of guys that I like. Let's go ahead and get into the skill chart for you guys, give you a breakdown of who this player is. And as we look at this, obviously, hey, really nice circle. This is what you kind of like to see about players on my grade chart, with the exception of his pass catching grade, which is a very negative grade as far as a 2. 4.5 is my deadline average, and then once we get into like 7 and above, that's where you'll see my elite grades come in. And at 2 for pass catching, it's really not an insult to him. He just didn't do it a lot in college. No more than 14 catches or 100 yards in any season he played for Rutgers. So look, what am I supposed to do there? I can't give him much of a grade there. I think, pro day will probably be useful. He'll probably do some drills at the combine. If he goes in for interviews down the line in the process, teams are going to figure out if they can trust him in the passing game. That's just not one of those things that's going to affect me too much. I really think if you're like the guy and you like the runner, you can kind of trust that he can pick up the pass catching elements of the game. But yeah, there's going to be certain teams that utilize the running back in the passing game more than others that just probably aren't going to value him in that phase of the game. So it limits maybe some of the ultimate upside for some teams. So it's worth mentioning, but I don't think it's something that you should be upset about if your team drafts him or anything like that. But with that said, let's get into some of the more interesting and exciting parts of his game. Love the way he runs. Very quick step, choppy runner. He has very good agility. He'll make you miss in the open field. Great contact balance at a 6.8. That's one of my highest grades for him. He's a smaller guy, so I can't project that to be a high level trait at the next level. But in college, man, he was a pinball. Just couldn't bring him down. I want to say bowling ball. I don't think he was quite big enough to be a bowling ball, but he was a pinball. It was tough to bring him down. He was very elusive. Those are kind of the traits that you're going to see when you talk about him. You look at the highlight reel, you're going to see him making guys miss in the open field. You're going to see some really good stop-start ability, I think. All of these things that just kind of, that's the type of guy he is. And look, don't get it twisted. I'm kind of describing a little bit of a scat back. He has some grit to his game. I think you're going to really love the way he runs if you're watching him as a guy that can complement your running back committee. You're going to really like this guy, right? And I gave him 5.1 for power, which is a positive grade, but not super impactful. Only because, he's not going to be a power back in the NFL. But for me, at a 5.1, that was kind of just, hey, he's really, really gritty. He runs hard. He puts his head down when he needs to. He churns out extra yards. All the little things that you want to see from a guy that maybe isn't the biggest, that doesn't project to be, I think, an RB1 in the NFL. He's not going to be a workhorse back in the NFL. I don't expect. I think he could obviously handle the load for half a season here and there if there's injuries to other players on the field or in the running back room. And that's not an insult by any means. I think he's going to be really, really impactful in the NFL. I think this run style does translate to the NFL pretty well. He runs hard. He runs angry. He is kind of slippery, tough to bring down. I told you about that pinball element. But yeah, I don't expect him to be a workhorse back in the NFL. I expect him to probably complement a committee or an RB1 that's kind of more solidified. That just feels more my projection. Now, obviously, it happens every year in the NFL. Guys like this that I'm probably seeing as a day 3 guy, high upside day 3 guy, high value day 3 guy, but day 3 guy nonetheless. Those guys, there's always one or two that blows out the expectation and ends up being the RB1 for a team. And from a stylistic standpoint, I could see it being him. I really could see this being the dude who just takes over a backfield, who just takes over a team just from a mentality, just from the way he works type of thing. And I look, that's projecting probably 2 years down the line, and that's kind of a bold projection. I'm not saying that will happen. I'm saying that could happen if he ends up in the right situation and things present themselves the right way, right? We see that pretty much out of every single running back class. You can find one or two guys that fit that mold, and this could definitely be one of those guys. But to get back to some of the skills that I do want to talk about here, explosiveness at a 5.4. Another thing, yeah, he doesn't have that incredible long speed. He has good initial burst at a 5.8. Again, another good grade. Solid stop-start ability. He has good vision, very good at finding the cutback lane when he needs to. And then his patience kind of goes hand in hand with vision. Obviously, his ability to find the cutback lane, his ability to find the second-level defender and make them miss early on. He sets up the second-level defender really, really well. I will say behind the line of scrimmage at times, I did feel like he can kind of get himself into a little bit of trouble, dancing around a little bit, trying to wait for something to open up. I think that's a product of playing on Rutgers. In certain situations you feel like you gotta hit the home run, and I think in the NFL I'm gonna like him most as just a one cut downhill, get what you can get type of guy, and then if you break it off in the open field, you can definitely make a guy miss and get to the next level. Again, I don't expect him to break off 75-yard runs in the NFL by any means. I don't think he has that kind of juice, but he has juice. He has some good pop. He's definitely has some good burst. All of these things that are going to immediately be valuable to a running back room early on in his career. I think he has it. I think it's going to be super, super interesting to see where he ends up and what kind of opportunities he gets early on in his career. Overall, this is a guy that I do think is a really good blend of the scat back archetype of smaller, quick, elusive, pinball-y type of guy, and a hard-nosed, rugged runner, because he runs angry, he runs tough, he forced 72 missed tackles last season, so he has some grit to his play. He averaged 3.37 yards after contact in college. He was 36.9% breakaway percentage in college. Like, these are really good advanced metrics that point to a guy that kind of, I think, outperforms his body type. He outperforms, just the measurables that he has as far as his height, weight, speed type of player that he is. And again, I mentioned at the beginning, I'm going to mention it again now. I think the dude could be special. All right, guys, that is all I got on Kyle Monangai. I love that last name, by the way. Look, I think projection-wise, as far as giving him a perfect comp to a player, I like comping skill set more than I like comping the overall player, because I do think every guy is a little bit unique. I will say the one thing that I saw, and it's fitting because it's the same school, but Isaiah Pacheco, as far as the way he runs, like he runs angry, he has that kind of short, choppy, angry at the ground type of run style that I really like. But I do think he has a little bit more elusiveness, a little bit more wiggle than Isaiah Pacheco. And Isaiah Pacheco is not a guy that I watched coming out, but so I'm kind of basing that on how he runs in the NFL. To kind of put that wiggle into perspective, maybe a little bit of a James Cook-ish kind of. I don't know. I usually do this part of the show just off the top of my head and kind of give you a good little breakdown of the type of guy that I think he is. I think that fits, has the wiggle, has the angry run style. Again, smaller package, but overall, lot to love about this guy. I think he's going to be a really, really interesting player in the NFL. All right, guys, that's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment on these videos. Really, really help. It helps the algorithm a whole lot, so it means a lot if you would do that for me. Let me know where you think about him, where you want him to end up. All these things really help. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.